That's her safe pedestrian coat. It's not going to get run over.
Hi and welcome. I'm Robert McBride of All Classical Portland. This is Carlos Kalmar, music director of the Oregon Symphony.
Good evening.
That's a pretty slick suit you're wearing there tonight, Maestro.
Yeah, I usually don't wear suits, right?
No, you don't. You look kind of gangster-like. I like it a lot.
Well, appropriate for the piece that we are going... no.
No, not really.
No,
not really. But you are going to change before the concert begins. So.
As it says in the Messiah, and we shall be changed.
We shall. In an instant, in the twinkling of a moment, right?
In a moment, in the twinkling
So
of an eye.
you may notice that the stage configuration is different tonight. I've never seen it like this. This is the 3/4 shell configuration, they tell me, and so a relatively small orchestra tonight for Messiah, and the chorus on the stage, not way up back there as they often are. Tell us.
Well, essentially, this wonderful hall presents a little bit of a problem when it comes to choral pieces because, unfortunately, the chorus loft that is built in to this hall is too far back, doesn't have any tools to project the sound. So even if I put there a chorus that is large, you have to kind of help them a little bit so that the sound gets out in the audience. Let's not forget this hall is actually a really big hall. I have been in so many halls in the United States, and this is one of the larger ones.
I tend to forget that.
Yeah, because you think, oh...
Because it feels intimate.
Yeah, it has a great feeling, but the thing is, occasionally, I did this... the last subscription concert where I actually was here, which is 4 weeks ago, not the one I conducted. When I conduct, this is my job. This is where I'm standing. But I was there for Jean-Pascal Tortelier and the harp concerto with Yolanda. And I spent the first half of the concert there in the dress circle. Nice. And then I went way into the back up. And it's actually the same phenomenon that happens in every hall of the world, happens here too, which is you want to hear really well, go far away. You are not going to see very well because it's a large hall, it's far away. But it always go far.
You like the sound is nicely blended by the time it gets there? Why is that?
I'm not an acoustician. The mixture of everything, the sound mixture is great. The same orchestra plays the same way, according to the piece they need to play, and the sound is actually, for some pieces, it mixes better up there.
Well, I want to try that. Let's just all go up there. Before the concert starts, we'll just all go up there as a group, and whoever's sitting up there, they can come down here.
And in regards to the shell configuration tonight, well, the interesting thing is that actually Messiah by Georg Friedrich Handel is a piece that requires a fairly small orchestra. It's strings, it's 2 oboes, a bassoon that actually is part of the cello and bass group, part of the continuum, and 2 trumpets and a timpanist, that's it. So you actually can put them here and take only half of the shell and everybody's comfortable. And then we decided for a chorus that is rather smallish, which is interesting because, you know, Messiah is a piece that we at the Oregon Symphony do fairly regularly, I would say every second year. Maybe every third year. It's interesting that this is my season number 13, this is my first Messiah in Portland. Never done it. I've done Messiah, but not here. And when you go to our dear friends at Portland Baroque, probably the orchestra is smaller, the chorus is even smaller, everything is... And that is interesting because especially Baroque specialists will lobby for a transparency of sound and accuracy in it. And then you read a little bit about what was customary in those days and etc. And you realize that actually it's not that we are all wrong, but we are at least not correct in claiming that small choruses, small orchestra is what happened in the Baroque area. None of that.
At least not all the time.
Not all the time. Messiah likely, I mean, the best example is actually not a piece from the Baroque, it's a piece from the classical era, the Creation by Haydn, which had one of the greatest concerts ever done by mankind in Vienna. Haydn was 81 or something, and 200 choristers. If you ask any conductor, would you do Creation with 200? Would you do Messiah with 150? They would say, you're completely out of your mind. Don't you know anything about style? Yeah. Actually, just to tell you the truth, this piece, the Messiah, actually is really, really, really tough if you do it with a large chorus, because it requires from the chorus such a great amount of virtuosity, coloratura, and that's harder to do when you have a lot of voices. So with a smaller chorus, this is actually the right size.
And it's the Portland State University Chamber Choir, which is a fabulous group. They are so good. Their recordings are beautiful. Their concerts are wonderful. They've won awards.
They
around
won
the world.
awards for...
And their conductor is
yeah,
amazing.
Ethan is great.
He's magic. He's just got the touch.
Yeah, I'm so happy that he's here in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, a New Yorker. but so this is the reason why the configuration is, because actually the configuration is not only that the back wall is closer to you than usual, the ceiling is down.
Right.
So it gives you a little feeling of intimacy, and it helps actually to get the sound out.
I can't wait. And I think the oldest music I've ever heard you conduct is Haydn. I've never heard you do any Baroque music, so I'm really interested what this will be like.
I'm surprised. I mean, the thing with Baroque music, it might have happened. I don't know. I simply don't know what did I actually do in Portland.
Would
12
you,
and a half.
Well, it's been a lot of years. It's been a lot of concerts. I'm guessing you won't use a baton. You'll just do your hands, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it's so small, you can do that. And you've got harpsichord and that adorable little portative organ. I love the sound of those things. Those little organs are just adorable.
Yeah. Maybe this is the first Baroque piece. I don't know, because I conduct Baroque music. My argument for Baroque, because, you know, my argument for conducting Baroque music is actually way too good to just leave it to the specialists. I am a normal conductor, and I'm not giving that to, no. They can do
I agree. I respect that. I think that's great. So, did you and Ethan talk about the chorus, the text, or does he just sort of leave all that up to you because you're going to conduct the performance?
Well, essentially, Ethan's was, as always, extremely keen to know what do I actually do with this piece.
Because he probably prepared them to some extent before you worked with them.
Yeah, but he prepared them according to my score. Because Messiah of Handel is a long piece of music. The chorus is busy. There's a lot of things. Now, as always with this fantastic Baroque music, you can actually just do what is written on the page, meaning a lot of black notes of different lengths and different height, and that's it. And yeah, this piece will work somehow. Probably after a while the audience will start yawning, but the audience will stay there because they know that somewhere there is hallelujah hidden and we don't know where it is. So that's fine. But actually, since I am a very strong believer in clean articulation, great expressiveness, as much as needed, freedom of phrasing, this is one of the scores where I wrote more than usual into the score. And I gave this score to Ethan. I also had some rehearsals with his chorus, but Ethan was wonderful because there was a time when I should have been, I could have been here rehearsing with his chorus, and I was actually somewhere else. And
Can you give us an example of what you wrote in there? Because, you know, the words are there, the notes are there, the editorial dynamic markings and such. What did you add?
Actually, the words are there. There is very little other than, well, it starts already with, I mean, I can only refer, to give you an example, a phrase, because what we do in music is phrasing. There is this wonderful phrase, just off the top of, you ask me for one, I give you one. For unto us a child is born. So you can actually do nothing. For unto us a child is born. This is boring. Also, something like that. Or you can say, for unto us a child is born, because what's the, or in the same movement, there is this one, I adore that part. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. Of course, direction in music is vital. You have to have a direction. So the direction is decided from two sources mainly. The text, meaning what does the text say, and usually a good hint is the way you speak it is the way Handel will write it.
In terms of accents?
For example, it's all the same movement, you will hear it. It's in the first part. Then comes and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. So you have this. So the question is, do you do Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, or you do Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God? Direction, or phrasing, or whatever you want. So
that is a spot in Messiah where I think some conductors go astray, if I may say. Because if you let yourself get carried away with the music, because the music is so powerful there, it can be at odds with the words. You're not praising Thor here, you're praising Jesus, right? So it's not wonderful counselor, even though the music is accented that way, in my humble opinion, it should be more wonderful counselor. It should be more embracing.
oh, you are such a romantic.
It's the first time I've ever been called that. No, it's not true. So what do you think about that?
I actually...
Boy, am I going out on a limb here. What do you think about that, Carlos?
See, the great thing about music is everybody can have a point of view.
Even me.
I actually think that it's not about Thor and wonderful, because, come on, it's a string orchestra, a small choruses, and two oboes, that's it. The effect is different, but to do, my point actually in the entire Messiah is to do nothing is not a good idea. And sometimes, it depends. I think if you think about the little things that we do in this interpretation, maybe you realize where, I don't, actually, as you know, I don't like to talk about interpretation and explain what am I doing. All I can say is, to my knowledge, the Messiah that we are going to offer is a Messiah with a point of view, musically speaking. And I will not give away, but how we approach Hallelujah is a little surprising. Maybe.
Great, wonderful.
But
Aren't you glad you're here to hear him say things like that?
but the thing is, I could explain why and what, but never mind. Just the great thing about Messiah is, I assume that a major percentage of the audience members tonight will know the piece. Probably everybody will know Hallelujah. A bigger percentage will know probably a quarter of the piece. Many will know all of it. I don't know.
So it needs to have a point of view, or why?
No, the thing is that it doesn't really matter, because if you hear this Messiah for the first time, and you hear it the way we hopefully will be able to pull it off, it actually grabs you. Because the point is that, or at least my point is, if you interpret Baroque music without doing anything, you're actually missing the point. Because I believe that Baroque music is highly emotional music. The problem is that Baroque composers, probably because the musicians at that time were just used to this, didn't write anything into their score. You look at scores by Bach or by Handel, there is a bunch of notes. Occasionally, whether it's loud or soft, that is it. But where does it go? Where do the phrases go?
It's all up to you.
Essentially, it's up to the interpreter. And the great thing about this piece, as an example for many others, is there are many interpretations. And I always, in this case, repeat what a teacher of mine told me way back. He said, Herr Kalmar, there is not one right interpretation. There are probably 20 right, but there are 1,000 wrong ones.
There's a life lesson right there.
Yes.
So in terms of the paucity of information on the page and what can be added, what about ornamentation? Will your solo singers be adding bits?
Oh, they do.
Yeah?
Of course. Of course.
Different every time,
Actually,
or do they have
the
it planned
great
out?
thing about my all four of these soloists that you're going to see and hear is I didn't tell them a word. All I told them during rehearsal time is, this is a bit much. Can you do a little bit more? That's it. And then they go. Because, of course, I mean, we are talking thorough interpretation, yes. As a conductor, you can actually write down every little thing and hand it over to the soloists 2 months in advance, and they will sing that. But I actually have, trust me, I was in rehearsal here on the podium, hearing maybe one or two details for the first time, and I was smiling because of what they do and these are seasoned soloists, what they can come up with. It's funny.
How much rehearsal time did you have for this piece compared to any other subscription concert?
The normal.
So, the same.
Yeah, nothing different, aside from being with the chorus. A little bit more than usual, but for big programs require 5 rehearsals. That's all. But again, not for the first time, with this orchestra, it's actually fantastic what they do. Because we are already, yes, they have kind of a lot of information on their page that comes from what I actually want. But still the fact that they just go. And then you, I remember yesterday in the dress rehearsal, I told them something about 2 movements, fairly similar things, and I did not say anything about louder, softer, faster, none of that. I said something, I have to tell you something about what I think the character of the music should be. It should be trees and birds and something, whatever I said. And all of a sudden, they just changed their way of making music. They're very good.
I came across a bizarre quote years ago by Jennings, the fellow who put the text together for Handel. In a letter he said to someone, Mr. Handel's brain is as full of maggots as ever. And I thought, what a strange, crazy insult. And then I looked it up and found out that maggot is a word for thought. I didn't know that. So he could have been saying something completely different, that Handel's imagination was as vital as ever.
Well, the great thing...
I hope that's what he was saying, I don't know.
I'm sure that's what he was saying, because he, the librettist, the guy who didn't really write the text, he put it together. This is not the first time they worked together. They had worked on other oratorios together, and this was, in a way, just one of them. And it just, over years, as you all know, it took off. The surprising thing about Messiah is how much time it took Handel to write the piece. You know, the piece is long. He wrote it in 3 weeks. And the interesting, okay, you are like, whoa. But then you think, then you read a little more and you realize that that was normality for those days, because he wrote it, he started late in August, ended in September, somewhere, and the people who kind of witnessed all of that said, well, it was late summer. Late summer in London, there's nothing to do. So just sit down and write some music. Second, it might sound surprising to write a piece of this magnitude at this speed, but it was not, because at the same time, like Georg Friedrich Handel, in Germany, there was this guy, Johann Sebastian Bach, who wrote a cantata every week. Meaning, write it, edit it, put the parts out, rehearse it, Sunday in church, off we go. So,
Week after month after year.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, actually, the fact that now Georg Friedrich Handel, I think, is a little better known than he was 30 years ago makes me very happy. Because yes, of course, Messiah is a miracle. It's a miracle in its entirety. But we are talking about a guy who actually essentially was not, he didn't write, this is an oratorio, he didn't really write oratorios, he was not famous for that. He was famous for writing opera. And he wrote, I think, a little over 40 operas, until the time came when opera of the style in which Handel was writing was not popular anymore, and he couldn't make money. So what are we going to do? We turn to oratorio, because oratorio has some similarity with opera. You need singers, you need a chorus, and some advantages. You don't need sets, you don't need so much rehearsal time, you don't have to pay those crazy Italian singers that demand way too much money. And that's why Handel wrote oratorios, and he wrote many, and this is one of them. And this is, I can't even tell you whether this is the most amazing. The question for me would always be, imagine whether Messiah by Georg Friedrich Handel would be as popular if at some point there wouldn't be Hallelujah. Hallelujah just makes the piece. And this is the first performance that I'm conducting where the break, because you have to make a pause somewhere, is not going to be after the second half, because first of all, the first half, the first and second part together are 1 hour and 55 minutes, probably. And second, at the end of second part is Hallelujah. And I know half the audience will think, we heard it, let's go home. And this way I make you stay, because trust me, we take a little break, but I will not leave the stage. Because trust me, after Hallelujah, there is more music. It's only, I think, 35 minutes, and it's just stunning what comes after. The entire piece is, as I said, it's a miracle.
And we are all fortunate to be here tonight, to hear you bring it to life with these musicians. Thank you. Carlos Kalmar.
Robert McBride.